Two-time NASCAR champion Kyle Busch trying to hold off Christopher Bell in the closing laps. Christopher Bell gets by him. Insane amount of talent at the end of this race. Awesome road course race. Let's break down everything that just took place at Circuit of the Americas. Hello everybody, welcome to Dirty Air. I'm your host Alex Lambert, and let's talk about a phenomenal race at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. A fantastic finish, a fantastic race really all day long. Kyle Busch trying to hold off Christopher Bell is unable to do it with the tires wearing so quick. Christopher Bell be able to win. He has to hold off William Byron. So much happened. Tyler Reddick squeezed up there at the end. So much took place in this race in Austin, and it was a fantastic race. So much driver talent was on display for the fans to see today, and we got a fantastic finish. And let's go ahead and dive into it and talk about everything that just took place in this phenomenal race. And let's start out by talking about the finish. Christopher Bell trying to beat Kyle Busch. And this was a 30-lap run, the entire final stage. Kyle Busch had the lead. He was trying to hold off guys like Shane Van Gisbergen and Christopher Bell. And Christopher Bell was closing in quick. They even went through a whole pit stop where, Kyle Busch pitted a little bit early, was able to gain a bit of an advantage, a gap. And then unfortunately for him, the caution came out. Unfortunately, a crash came out. Actually, his teammate, Austin Dillon, that threw a caution. That made it very difficult for Kyle Busch because that was going to even them up, at least, have a restart where they were going to be close to each other, and Busch just didn't have enough to hold off Christopher Bell. Well, what a fantastic job by both of these drivers. Kyle Busch able to hold him off for that long. Fantastic racing. Christopher Bell able to get by him without making any contact. Essentially, I think they door slammed one time in the S's, but other than that, I didn't see a whole lot of contact. I think that was the only bit of contact those cars had. Phenomenal job by Christopher Bell. It was talked about in the post-race interview that Christopher Bell did wreck Kyle Busch 2 of the last 3 years at this racetrack. He didn't want to do that again. That's not how he wanted to win this race, because there were plenty of moments Bell could have knocked him out of the way, but Bell was just so much faster. He was finally, after lap in and just running all these laps right behind him, right in his wake, was finally able to get by Kyle Busch. So much talent was on display. Then you had William Byron coming up through the field trying to get by Christopher Bell, and a little bit later on coming up on the white flag on the final lap, and you had Tyler Reddick applying pressure to both of them. Just so much phenomenal racing. I thought that was a great race. Kyle Busch talked about it in his post-race interview. Once again, Christopher Bell mentioned that he didn't want to win the race like that. Kyle Busch, the only thing I saw as far as an interview was from Jeff Gluck on Twitter. This is immediately after the race that Kyle Busch said that he knew he was putting himself in a bit of a vulnerable position with throwing those crazy blocks at the end. He knew that Bell probably could have knocked him out of the way, but Christopher Bell chose to race him cleanly, and that Kyle Busch did appreciate it, and that he thinks the caution was the difference. So Kyle Busch, and once again, this is just out of the race car, so emotions are high following a tense race like this. So Kyle Busch does point to that caution with, I believe it was 15 laps ago, his teammate Austin Dillon, unfortunately, getting stuck in the sand pit there, or in the rocks, whatever that was, marbles. Unfortunately, that threw the caution, and that really hurt Kyle Busch's chances of winning this race, and he just wasn't able to do so by burning through those tires. But it's still an absolutely phenomenal race from Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch, everybody in the top 10, really. And let's go through that top 10. Well, once again, Bell, a two-time winner now. He's now won at Atlanta. He's now won in Circuit of the Americas, going for 3 race wins in a row next week in Phoenix. Phenomenal start to the year. Who's the other winner in 2025? William Byron, who finished second, won the Daytona 500. So you're starting to see some consistency with the results here. Tyler Reddick's been up front every week. I think he finished second at Daytona. I'm not sure where he finished last week. I don't think he was in the top 10. And then had a good finish today in the top 3. So 2 top 3 finishes this season for Reddick is obviously good as well. Chase Elliott. What a phenomenal run for Chase Elliott. We can look at lap 1, turn 1, the green flag. Chase Elliott, one of the favorites to win the race today. Looked fast all weekend in practice. Gets knocked out of the way by the one car. Unfortunately spins out, goes to last place. Had to fix some toe link damage. It was an uphill battle from that point forward for Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott probably would have had a chance to race for the win, or at least show what he has, but we never got to see it because of this incident on the first lap. Very unfortunate there for Chase Elliott in the number 9 car, but was able to come all the way back up at the end with fresher tires, finishing in the 4th position. Tires really mattered today. You also saw that sun setting change a lot of handling for the cars too. Once again, Kyle Busch, actually, he wore those rear tires out so bad, he flew all the way back to 5th position after that, right? So you had, Bell, Byron, and Reddick, top 3 all close together. They finished really close together. Then you had Elliott passed Busch on the final lap, 5 or 6 seconds behind the leaders way back there. Shane Van Gisbergen, fantastic race by SVG today, I think. It's hard for him to compete with these full-time drivers that have been racing. He is considered a rookie this year. This is his first full-time year. But still, just looking at what SVG can do, when they show, Fox does a great job at showing a camera where you can see his feet, the pedals, when he's racing, and it's just insane, the amount of talent that you see from him, obviously racing another series overseas, but he's able to come into NASCAR and consistently contend for wins, stage wins, top tens at these road courses, even on a part-time schedule previously, similar to Allmendinger, who was up front till he had some issues, finished in the back. Allmendinger did. But SVG, just the amount of road course talent he has is exceptional. It's really fun to watch. It's fantastic. And I think that he could win a race this season. I think he could win one of the 6 road course races. Once again, we are 1 road course race down, 5 more to go, 4 in the regular season to go until the NASCAR playoffs. Very realistically, SVG could win a race and put that Trackhouse 88 team in the NASCAR playoffs. Chris Buescher, nice 7th place finish. It's funny. Chris Buescher always seems to finish in the top at road courses, but he just doesn't always get the win. He was able to get one last year at Watkins Glen, but doesn't always win these road courses. Isn't always, right up there, on camera, getting the victories or in contention for the win, but is always consistently in the top 10, which pays points, which is solid. Noah Gragson, 9th, 8th place finish. I don't know exactly what happened. I'm assuming it was tire strategy at the end where he put fresher tires on than everybody else, because Noah Gragson was having a rough day, mid-20s for majority of this race. Alex Bowman, a nice top 10, a recovery from the issues that he was having, got a penalty for cutting the racetrack. And unfortunately, a caution came out right after that, forcing him to start at the tail end of the long slide. Worst case scenario for the 48 team, but he was able to come back, get a nice top 10 finish. He was running about in the 10th position before that happened all day long. And Todd Gilliland, a nice top 10 to round out the top 10 today. So to talk about a few drivers that had issues today, I have to bring up Daniel Suarez again. You see a crash here, him and Connor Zilic. This is unfortunate, right? Because you have, 18-year-old making his first start, looked to be having a great run, was running about 14th, started 14th. I believe he was running 14th at the time, and Suarez just has an issue. They collide, big crash, takes out 2 of those Trackhouse race cars. That's really unfortunate for both of them. I think that was a bit hard to watch, and I talked about this last week with Daniel Suarez. Man, just really rough right now for Daniel Suarez. Things are just not going well for that 99 Trackhouse team. This is a contract year for the driver of the 99 Chevrolet, Daniel Suarez, and he's got to start getting these results because things have not been, it has been a rough start for Daniel Suarez in 2025. Things have not gone his way at all so far in this 2025 NASCAR season. Really hope that he's able to turn that around, because that's really unfortunate for him that there's been 2 wrecks early in the season that has taken him out of contention. Wrecked last week early, the race he was defending winner of last week, and then of course wrecked out early today. It's been a rough few weeks for the 99 team. Also unfortunate for Zilic. Impressive run by Zilic in that 87 Red Bull car. I thought that was a phenomenal performance, just racing cleanly. I didn't see him have contact with anybody before that, and didn't cause any accidents. So I think that was a good debut for the 18-year-old. We'll see how he moves, how he is able to grow moving forward. We'll see what he's able to do in the future. Austin Cindric, Ty Dillon actually got into it at one point in this race. Austin Cindric, Ty Dillon, made contact coming off of that last corner. I believe it's turn 20, and coming to the start-finish line. Austin Cindric did retaliate, did turn left into him. I don't know if we would see any penalties from that. I hope not, because it was at a slower speed racetrack, so we'll see what happens with that moving forward. But Cindric did get frustrated with Dillon and did turn him around. So certainly an interesting start to the 2025 NASCAR season. We're going to Phoenix next week, and we have our storylines going into Phoenix. And this is why I love a race like we had at COTA. And I liked the race last week in Atlanta too, a little frustrated with the Daytona 500, but we're 3 races in, going into Phoenix next week. We have some storylines, right? We have William Byron, obviously running good every race so far this season. William Byron's up front contending, already got a win. Christopher Bell going for 3 wins in a row. Kyle Busch is back up front. Is he able, 2 top 10s in a row for Busch? Is Kyle Busch going to be able to break that now 60 race winless streak? Chase Elliott up front. Tyler Reddick's been up front at every race so far this year. We have the storylines now going into Phoenix, which is exciting. Hopefully next week in Phoenix is a phenomenal race as well. And once again, one thing we do need to look forward to this Wednesday is the 19 team of Chase Briscoe's penalty appeal. So we'll obviously have to keep an eye on that as well. But that's it. All there's to talk about following NASCAR in Austin, Texas at Circuit of the Americas. Can't wait to go back to this racetrack. We hope we go back to this racetrack in future years. There are some talks that, this racetrack, there's not a deal that's been made yet with NASCAR in the track, SMI. We'll have to keep monitoring that too. But that's it. I hope you all enjoyed the race. And of course, let's get rowdy.